Hey, thanks for tuning in to the A Modern America podcast. I'm your host, Ethan Braulio. With me again today is James Mason. Say hello, James.
Hello, Ethan.
Glad to have you back on the show. Today's topic is not on illegal immigrants, but it is on the Electoral College. And if you think that we should change the system, or if you're in favor of continuing with what we had for the past couple centuries, what are your thoughts?
I'm in favor of changing the system, or at least getting rid of it completely. I think it should be reworked, at least, if not eradicated, to one person, one vote.
Okay, so why do you think that there are any issues with the current system?
The point of the Electoral College is to represent the population, and so when a majority of the population votes for someone and the other candidate can win, then I think that means the system's flawed and it should be either adjusted or gotten rid of.
Yeah, and obviously it was originally created to represent candidates in a time where there wasn't as much education when it came to terms of issues or the actual politicians. Like back in the 1700s, you didn't have the internet to go look up your candidates and see, oh, here's what these people actually thought about. All you would see is in the newspaper, this candidate is running, and this other candidate is running. You wouldn't have nearly as much information on it. So it made a little bit more sense to have the Electoral College actually go and vote for it. But nowadays, with all the information around, I don't think it makes as much sense to justify costing them. Like in the last 5 elections, twice a Republican has won because of the Electoral College when they would have lost in terms of a
Yeah, but it's not
vote.
even. I mean, my issue with it isn't even party. Like, if it was 2 Democrats would want instead of 2 Republicans, I'd still be in favor of changing the system.
Oh no, I agree. It's just the fact that it seems to favor one party or the other. I'm not trying to say that. Oh, I want this change because I'm a registered Democrat and all that. I'm saying that it seems to help one party. It gives them an unfair advantage over the other one. Or it doesn't. Again, it doesn't have to happen for that part. I'm just saying it's happened 2 of the last 5 elections. The winner has won because of Electoral College, not because of the popular vote.
Yeah, well, it gives an advantage to whoever gets less votes that they can still win.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, yeah, like I said, the purpose of it was because everybody was like, oh, well, that means California would win every election because they have the most people. And I'm like, well, isn't that the point of the Electoral College, to represent the population?
Yeah, maybe you should change your ideals to favor more people than to just go and look at a few states and say we can win the electoral votes here.
Yeah, and then California, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Texas would decide who was president. But again, like 80% of the population lives there, so doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, you would think. And then if you look at a state, let's say someone wins, like the last election, Donald Trump won 3 or 4 states by a total of 100,000 votes. Like the cumulative amount that he won more than she did in those states was like 100,000. It was in like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, I think.
What are they called? We were the swing states, but there was
the Rust Belt.
Rust Belt, yeah.
Well, the Rust Belt, he won by very slim margins. And again, he won those. That's fair and square. But the fact that even though she lost by only 100,000 votes in those states, she ended up losing all the Electoral College votes for there. It's not representative of those people at all. Their vote essentially becomes worth nothing then.
No, yeah, it's a winner-take-all system, which it shouldn't be. It's supposed to represent the population, which is why I think if no one's willing to fix this or adjust it, then it should go back to one person, one vote.
Yeah, then you look at states like California, and it takes like 700,000 votes to equal one Electoral College vote, while states like Wyoming, since it's such a smaller population, but it still has 3 electoral votes. You only need like 300,000 people to achieve an actual Electoral College vote, and that makes your vote less than 1/2 of what someone's vote is worth in Wyoming, which is ridiculous.
And those are the states everybody defends the Electoral College for. Yeah, the middle states where they have like a 4 Electoral College vote. Yeah, and so people are saying, well, then if that was the case, then California would eradicate all their voices. But like, it's because no one lives there, or not a whole lot of people live there, and.
Yeah, I hate the one chart that shows like all the different like counties and which way they went, and then makes it look like Republicans voted, like almost the whole country did. Well, no one's living in those counties. It's not
so
a bunch of desert plains and.
Well, yeah, so like 20 people live in a county, so if they all vote Republican, it looks like a giant area voted Republican when really it was 20 people.
And there's a couple million people in some of those cities like L.A., Philadelphia, New York City that. The charts that actually make sense are like the condensed charts, or like it shows like how dense the place actually. Yeah, it actually makes sense that way.
Well, yeah, because PA is a swing state, and it's a swing state because of Philadelphia and Harrisburg. Because if you look at a map, those are the 2 Democratic areas, and then the rest of Pennsylvania is Republican. But then if you look at population, yeah, a majority of Pennsylvania lives in either Philadelphia or Harrisburg.
Yeah, that's how cities work. People, makes sense.
And cities tend to be more liberal, and urban areas tend to be more conservative. For whatever reason, that could be a different conversation as to why that is.
Yeah, I just think that instead of arguing, oh, well, we make sure these states are equally represented, and maybe try to actually look at people not divided by state, but by looking at people as a whole and saying, okay, how can we appeal to more people instead of let's just border people off
not sure if this is what you're saying, but it almost, for a candidate then, it makes them appeal to states, not population.
Yeah, people are looking at states or like certain areas like the Rust Belt, or they're looking out the Midwest. You're not appealing to the people as a whole. When you play favorites like that, I don't think you're not as helpful as you could be.
No, because it's almost at that game, it's like playing a game of chess. You're not trying to appeal to as many people who will help you. It's trying to, all right, if I get this place and this place and this place, I can win the election.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you kind of misrepresent people, or you make promises that aren't going to happen.
Well, they're always going to make promises that aren't going to happen. That's kind of a given. But no, yeah, and I mean, I can't really fault politicians for doing it, because that's how you win an election, is to win electoral votes. So
of course, change the system so they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, so I mean, why would you try and appeal to population if that's not going to win you an election?
Oh yeah, I'm not arguing that they should right now. I'm saying if you can change the system, maybe some would not do that. Some would actually look at a population as a whole instead of looking at cut off certain areas and saying. So would you be in favor of changing the primary system at all? I know like people got really mad.
The primary system.
The delegate vote, like mostly for the Democratic. I don't think Republicans have the 500 like private electoral votes.
Oh no! Well,
I know Bernie supporters were very against this.
Yeah, well,
or
because
for
they
changing
lost.
it. Yeah, it wasn't enough though alone. Would it have been? Well, I think it was close.
Democrats have the super delegates.
That's what I meant. Super delegates. Yeah.
At one point, I knew how that works, but it's been a while since the primary, so I forget. But
they're like 500 extra. They're like 500 extra primary electoral votes that are added on, but it's determined by their party. Because in the end, the primaries are the candidates aren't really chosen by the people. It's more chosen by
the DNC or
the DNC. Yeah, obviously, if people vote for a candidate, they're more likely to say, "Hey, this person has a better chance of winning. We'll push this person through." But they could still end up choosing. They could have ended up choosing, somebody else who they wanted.
Yeah. No, I don't know how I feel about that, because I remember everybody talking about that when Bernie lost, and then they were saying that the DNC was rigged against him to support Hillary, which it kind of was.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even if it wasn't, like if it had worked the way they had been in favor, like one person, one vote, Hillary still would have won.
Oh yeah,
she still would have won. She still won the election over Bernie, so it's not that helped, but it's not like that really made a difference. If you'd gotten rid of that and changed the system, Bernie still would have lost. So I don't know how I feel about that, because I don't know if that's ever. I'm in favor of adjusting it if it's costed someone who should have won an election the election. So I'm not aware of it ever working against a candidate
I think it actually hurt Hillary over Obama in 2008. I heard that he actually had less votes overall, but the states he won, he actually ended up pushing back, because it was really close for a while, but then eventually I think it was Illinois, I think, that really changed, or Indiana maybe, I don't know.
Illinois would make sense that they would vote for Obama.
Yeah.
Because he was representative. Or
Senator. But no, I remember she was in the head in 2008 in the primaries for a while, and then he ended up he gave a bunch of great speeches, and that really kind of pushed him over the edge.
No, yeah, I remember that. I would have to look at the statistics. You might be right. I remember hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, I was 10 when that happened. So
I mean, he was also the right choice, I think, in 2008. They definitely. I don't think they didn't make the right choice. I don't think. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's sort of a separate conversation, but. No, yeah.
For next time, guys.
Again, I don't know. I'd have to see the statistics on that, and if he would have won anyway, regardless of the super delegates and the DNC. But then again, it's hard to argue against it, because it's like, all right, this shouldn't exist because it made Obama win, but Obama should have beat over Hillary because it would have been a better candidate. So you're kind of arguing to get rid of a system that worked in your favor. I don't know.
No, it's kind of hard.
I would need the statistic in front of me to.
Yeah, and obviously it's up to the DNC to pick the candidate they want to have win. They could end up saying, we're not going to have a primary at all. We're just going to pick a candidate, and hopefully it's the one you like. I don't think we talked about this a bit last time. It's not looking too good for the Democratic nominees for 2020.
No, it's because there's no one up for it. Like, there's no one kind of stepping to the plate who's going to be the Democratic nominee.
There was a Gallup poll that came out a little bit ago, and Biden was 32% favored, and then the next one was Hillary at 18%, and we really don't need her.
No, I doubt she's going to run again, and if they do, they're just giving the vote to Donald at that point.
Yeah, it would not be good. With how strong the economy is, I don't think enough people would have changed over from last time. Obviously, it was close last time. It was really close in the election, election night.
Yeah, no, it was really close.
He blew out his expectations, but it still ended up being really close. It was within 100,000 votes to have been swung her way,
Well, yeah, I was going to say, the reasons people don't like Hillary haven't really gone away.
Oh, no, and him saying these things on Twitter every day just keeps his base galvanized towards it.
Well, what was it, a couple months ago when Gallup did a survey and Hillary Clinton was still viewed more unfavorably than Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Which kind of baffles me. Like, even when she does nothing and slips away, people are still mad at her.
Yeah, I don't have to tell you there. That's a little crazy.
Yeah, so, I mean, the fact that she can literally do nothing for 6 months and her husband can write a bestseller, and then people still say, well, at least, she's doing a worse job than the president, then yeah, I don't think she should be running again against him.
Well, if people really think that, I think that's a little uneducated on their part. I know some people I don't want to say, I don't necessarily agree with this, of getting rid of some people's ability to vote. That's a really scary, radical topic to get into.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that. You can't take away some. I don't think
prisoners. Some prisoners can't vote.
Yeah, I know. I forget, or I don't know what you have to do to lose that, but I know there's some prisoners who are like, as a result, they can't vote anymore, which I don't agree with. But yeah, I mean, if Biden runs, he's got a good shot, but it's hard to say because they'll dig up something on Biden to make him look bad.
Well, they've had those pictures of him posing with little kids.
Yeah,
the girls. Yeah,
the girls who go to the White House, and
yeah,
he acts kind of. I don't know what the right word is for that, but
a little sleazy, maybe.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it. But yeah, so they'll probably just dig up that and throw that against him, or they'll find something. So it's impossible to say. And again, they're like the two name value ones. Like if it's name a Democrat who could run for president, it's Bernie or Hillary or Joe.
Yeah,
and they're all like 70+ years old, which isn't really gonna. I mean, I hate to be ageist, but yeah, millennials don't want to vote for someone who's 75.
Oh, Bernie, but not everybody else.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's more because of his values. If they had someone young saying that, they would definitely prefer them, as long as he was charismatic as Bernie.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Bernie had a weird sort of charisma to him, but
he definitely had charisma. He had more than Hillary.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
that's just about any candidate.
Yeah, not that that's a high bar to jump over, but yeah, he could sit down for an interview and joke around with like Jimmy Fallon and make it seem normal, not rehearsed,
robotic and.
Yeah, no, that was. Every time she had to sit down and talk with someone, it was like she had never encountered another human. It's like she had been homeschooled for the last 60 years.
Well, in government for a lot of it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you think
fake.
With just as many press tours and circuits that she's done, she would learn how to be more, let's say, human-like.
You would think, but it's hard for some people.
Like her husband's really charismatic, or he was at one point.
I still think not so much anymore. He's a little older now. You gotta be
careful what you say about Bill now, but he was. I mean, that was part of the
reason. We love him.
That's part of the reason why he won the election.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, he was the cool president. He was the first quote-unquote black president.
He was, yeah. Well, he went on Arsenio Hall and played saxophone, and after that, his approval rating with the youth.
Oh yeah, of course.
Skyrocketed because he was the cool guy.
Mm-hmm.
What were we talking about?
Yeah, I got a little off track there. We went from the 2020 nominees for Democrats from the primary elections. Yeah.
Is Cory Booker still in the talks for that? Because I thought for a while they were trying to line him up.
He's pulled super low. He's like the most recent poll from like Gallup. I think it was like 3 or 4%. Not a Quinnipiac.
Really? What happened to him?
Just hasn't been in the news as much. There was that one part where he got really emotional in Congress. I remember it was over. I'm not sure if it was a racist thing or it was something else. He got like really upset over what some of the Senate Republicans had done. But yeah, him or Elizabeth Warren are like two of the dark horse candidates.
I could see Elizabeth Warren might. Oh, I thought you said she didn't want to do it.
She doesn't want to, but she might feel pressured or be pressured into doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually a good idea.
You think Al Franken will
run? Honestly, if he didn't have that scandal, he was my favorite. I love him so much.
I liked Al Franken a lot too.
Yeah, until the scandal. Don't get me wrong. I'm not in favor of it.
No, he acted very inappropriately, and he did the right thing by stepping down. But I think
before honestly, that, he was the front runner. I think, in my opinion, maybe not mainstream front runner, but he definitely I would have voted for him.
Oh, I absolutely would have voted for him, and I think a lot of people would have voted for him.
Definitely,
a lot of people like Al Franken,
and
he's got a lot of support, and he's got a lot of celebrity friends, and he's funny, so he's going to do well with millennials. And
I think he'd be great in the debate. He would get Donald so mad.
He would, and I mean, he's actually a very smart person. And,
oh yeah. I would
until
see
he acted very stupid.
Yeah, the Senate committee hearings and stuff like that. His questions he would ask people are always so much higher up than other ones. Like you see these moronic old men trying to ask the Facebook guy, what's his name? Zuckerberg, yeah. The questions,
Facebook guy.
The Facebook guy, about the one time when he came in, and they're asking him these questions about the most basic concepts of Facebook. They didn't ask
it's the
anything
questions you'd expect a 65-year-old man to ask about Facebook.
And he was so nervous at first, and then the first 3 three questions go by, and he's like, "Oh, we got this easy. There's nothing to worry about."
Yeah. But all right, so. Enough praising Al Franken, I guess. I was suggesting his name as a joke, knowing that he can't run.
No, I love the guy. I could talk about him for a while.
I liked him.
Liked, not anymore.
Yeah, well, he did some bad things, stupid bad things he shouldn't have.
Hillary and Trump both did some bad, dumb things too.
Yeah,
and
I'm not supporting them either.
You gonna support Gary Johnson?
No, I don't like Gary Johnson.
Then who do you like?
Who do I like right
There's
now?
really no one out there.
No, and that's the
There
problem.
is no one.
That's the problem. Honestly, it's like, I don't know, what's his name? The guy from Florida, Rubio.
Ugh.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
He's
if
so
Rubio or
fake.
Jeb ran, I'd probably support them at this point, because I don't know who else I would.
Really, I know Kasich. He was debating. I think we talked about this last time as well. If he ran, I'd have to consider it, especially if he put the Democratic vice president. I consider it then. But I don't see him winning nomination over Trump.
No,
There's
absolutely.
no way.
I don't see anybody winning a nomination over Trump. Well, the concern was, and this was the concern last election, I can see it happening this election. So let's say, for lack of a better example, Jeb Bush runs, and he gets the Republican nomination over Trump. There was concern that Trump would then run as third party because he thinks he has enough support on his own.
That would make the Democratic person actually have a chance of winning.
No, that would basically hand the Democrat the election.
Oh, yeah.
Because he would split the party in half.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that concern too. If the Republicans try and push another candidate, are they actually going to split and they're in a tricky position because they don't want to support Trump, but if they don't support Trump, then they're going to split it and lose the election anyway.
Yeah, that's a real issue. There's like the classical conservative who has a bit more values and morals, and then there's the New Age Republicans.
Keep talking, I'm listening.
The New Age Republicans who they like the economic policies. Like they're kind of similar in economic policies, but on some of the moral and like issues like that, they're a lot more far right. And I can see a real splinter there on those issues. The Democratic Party, I think there may be a split there as well. I think it's still a good decade or two away, but towards more of the socialistic values, when we have more of a chance to have universal income, when like more jobs are taken away by robots, whether it be in fast food, trucking industries, factory jobs, you could actually possibly realistically see a universal income solution.
No, yeah, you could. And I mean, honestly, that's not too unforeseeable of a future.
Oh no, all the top Zuckerberg himself, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett have all said, yeah, it's inevitable at this point, especially in a capitalistic market.
Oh yeah, because everybody was bitching about when they were trying to raise the minimum wage to $50, and they're like, oh, they're just going to replace them with robots. I'm like, well, yeah,
it's going to happen regardless.
Yeah, well, yeah, so it costs a robot less than $15 an hour to do your job, so they're going to do that until they figure out how to make it do it for less than $7, and then every job's going to get replaced.
All that we left are some STEM jobs. Eventually, I think even education. You look at like Khan Academy and stuff. I think that could eventually. Again, homeschooling. That's like not as great of an education in my opinion, but I could see more and more of that being used, and eventually some teaching jobs. Even like now, teaching jobs are so hard to find.
Yeah,
that's because that's more of an oversaturated market than anything else.
Yeah, no, and I mean, yeah, it's a scary thing to think about. The fact that machines will probably take over our jobs and then they'll take over the world.
It sounds like we're talking out of a basement, but it's definitely not the case here.
No, but I mean, at one point that was a crazy idea to suggest, but it's honestly not too unforeseeable. And at this point, I don't think it's crazy in a certain regard to talk about machines taking over people's jobs.
Oh no, it's definitely a situation we're going to have to plan for, because McDonald's, they already have those self-serving kiosks now, and that's getting rid of the cashier job. Obviously, they still have people making food, but there's been ideas or concepts for having robots and machines make the burgers and stuff, or conveyor belts for the French fries.
They can easily do
inevitable.
that. Well, I mean, they're starting to get self-driving cars, so
yep, Elon Musk and
if that really becomes popular, then you're going to see taxi drivers get rid of, Uber drivers getting rid of, limo driver, like all of that's going to get taken away.
Well, let me ask you this then. Do you think Republicans would... I know they're usually not in favor of forcing people to have jobs or restricting the market. Do you think they would stop that to prevent a universal income? Preventing the robots and machines from taking over jobs to prevent actually having to deal with the universal income. You know what I mean?
I think they would. I mean...
I know Democrats...
They'd basically be biting themselves in the tail, but I could see them...
It's a lose-lose, I think.
Well, yeah, because they're against raising the minimum wage because they're afraid that'll happen, but if that happens inevitably, they're going to have to bite their own tail and figure out a solution that prevents that.
Puts them in a tough spot there.
Yeah. But again, that's, we probably got at least a decade before that becomes a serious issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
Not
we'll
that
see.
it shouldn't be talked about, but...
You do need a contingency plan in place, I guess, or because it's going to happen eventually, and based on the current lawmakers, I don't think it's going to get done anytime soon.
And to answer your question, I still don't know who's going to run against Trump for the Democratic Party in 2020.
Yeah, no, that's. Well, I think after the midterm elections, it's a lot of those a lot of the elections have been going very democratic. A lot of even the ones that they lose, like down in Georgia, that was a while back. They were supposed to lose by like 22 points. They only ended up losing by like 2 or 3. It's like not looking good for the Republicans.
It's just simply that the Republicans are in power and they're not doing anything with that power, so it's upsetting a lot of people. So yeah, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, you look at like 2006, the same thing happened. 2010, after Obamacare was passed, the same thing happened.
Yeah.
It's constant wave back and forth. I know my one friend in college, he's like, oh yeah, Trump's going to win in 2020. They're going to have total supermajority and Senate in 2018. I'm like, there's no way that happens. Especially now, if they actually have the Supreme Court case, they get that another judge in there. That's definitely not going to go over well if they get that passed. If they pass that through, they're basically signing their death warrant. But it does give them 30 plus years of a Supreme Court being appointed.
At least, yeah. I was going to ask you about that. What do you think about that? About Supreme Court Justice Kennedy stepping down to retire?
It's bound to happen. I mean, if he really, I mean, he's pretty moderate. He was, I mean, moderate in the sense that
he was technically conservative, but he was the swing vote on a lot of them. He was moderate.
Yeah, it wasn't so much that he was the typical moderate, like he's close on every issue. It was some issues he was liberal, and some issues he was Republican. It wasn't so much that he was close to the center on necessarily a lot of them, but he ended up being the swing vote.
No, and I think that's a very good quality in anybody who's on the Supreme Court. I think they should all be that way. It shouldn't try and be 5-4 Democrat Republican. It should all try and be as moderate as possible.
Yeah, I saw a 538 article. They had like a statistical analysis of where everybody fell on the chart. There was like 2 people super Democratic, one person completely on the far right.
What, on the current Supreme
Court?
Clarence Thomas.
Yeah,
he's super conservative.
Yeah.
I want to say Ruth Bader Ginsburg is probably going to be on the far left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one lady.
Not Sandra. Yeah, the younger one.
No, here's the old one who's he's like 80 now.
Yeah, Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah. Sorry, I drew a blank there. She I know she's gonna try to hold out now. That's what she's been saying.
She is, but she
should have went out during Obama's earlier years to allow for him to nominate somebody else. If that's what their goal is, obviously she wants to serve as long as possible, but that's up to her to decide. But if she wanted to have a Democrat replace her, she'd picked a pretty poor plan to do so.
Yeah, but I mean, in her defense, you can't say that, she should have retired 10 years ago in anticipation for this. Like,
fair enough, yeah.
That's not her fault. She's what? She's 84,
80 something, that's all I know.
She's like mid-80s. And that surprised me because I actually think Kennedy is the 3rd oldest. Mm-hmm. Because I thought I always want to call him Clarence Clemens. It's Clarence Thomas. I thought he was... Yeah, he's 2nd, and I thought Ruth Bader Ginsburg was 1st. Mm-hmm. Or Ruth might be 2nd, and someone else might be 1st, and Clarence might be 4th. But yeah, I was surprised that he retired because he wasn't the oldest. But I mean, he's 81, so. Mm-hmm. Is Sandra Day O'Connor still alive?
I want to say so. Yeah, I think I remember seeing his name on the.
Her. Sandra Day O'Connor.
I heard the Connor. That's all I heard.
No, it's a her.
Oh,
a very famous her.
Well, shows you how little I know.
Yeah, that's going to reflect well on you.
Oh, they're not going to be hearing this. Don't worry.
No, I'll leave this part in. This is the interesting part. But yeah, I'm concerned about because Trump's obviously going to go for someone who's far right, not like alt right, but.
Well, Gorsuch, he wasn't that far right, was he? He was pretty right.
He was pretty right. I mean, no, he wasn't Clarence Thomas right, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clarence Thomas was born a poor African-American kid and managed to pull himself up and said, yeah, all African-Americans need to do that. They should stop complaining that they're born into a society this way. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you can't find someone that's much more right than that.
Yeah, and they love that.
Right as in leaning, not right as in correct. I just want to clarify.
And they love that because then that makes it harder for the left to object and say we do need to have more programs like that, Yeah,
affirmative action and whatnot. But
mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm concerned because he's definitely going to pick someone who's at least as far right as Neil Gorsuch. Not that he's the extreme right, but he's still very right-leaning.
And then
so
they were talking about...
Be, what, 5'3"?
6'3", but yeah.
6'3", sorry.
No, yeah, it gives it a clear leaning. And even with the middle, whoever the middle candidate ends up being, they're still leaning right. So Roe versus Wade could realistically get... overturned, yeah. Yeah, well, I think that the problem is that would have so much outbreak. And again, they don't care so much about the midterm elections. They're not the ones getting taken out. Their job is to interpret the Constitution and its laws. So I could see them getting rid of that. Obviously, I think Republicans might end up regretting that decision in midterms or elections because that's going to cause a lot of outrage.
Oh, yeah, they're going to lose a lot of votes over that if they do that. But that'll be a hard and long battle if they try and overturn Roe v. Wade. Because I mean, honestly, that's probably going to be the hardest thing they can do since trying to overturn Obamacare.
Yeah, and they failed on that.
They did well. I mean, because it's virtually impossible to overturn that at this point.
Yeah,
there's so many people signed up for it and continuing to use it that it's impossible to just withdraw.
Yank it away. Yeah.
And so it's almost a similar thing with abortion, where at this point it's going to be, well. But I mean, I could if they have 6-3, I could definitely see them continuing to push to overturn.
Because that gives them a vote to spare.
Yeah.
There was another issue. It was I don't want to say gun law. It was something else that they were looking at that it could really swing. I think illegal immigration could continue to. I guess they kind of already finished that though. They had a recent ruling on that.
The travel ban.
Yeah, the travel ban.
Yeah, it got upheld, but it was I think every time it gets upheld, it's temporary. It's like for another 6 months or something. Not that makes it better, but honestly. Yeah. Well, if it's 6-3, then honestly, I could see him passing a bill that says, "All right, this is permanent until we say otherwise."
Which will never happen again, or it'll be a while until.
Yeah, it'll be 30 years.
Yeah. Because
in order for it to be deemed unconstitutional, it's got to be passed by the Supreme Court, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think there's a way they can bypass the Supreme Court, but that's like a very long process.
I know Congress can like load up or pack in the Supreme Court. They can get rid of the people in there, but they need they need the 60 votes in the Senate. They need full House.
Yeah, they're basically going to need everybody in the Supreme Court and the House of Representatives, or not Supreme Court, the
Senate and
the House of Representatives to overturn it. So yeah, basically they're going to need like in a vacuum situation for that to work.
Mm-hmm. So that's a serious issue. I think Democrats kind of blew on that one. Not much they can really do about it now, but I just kind of hope and push it past the midterm elections because then you could definitely stop. And he's going to go. Yeah, McConnell's going to go nuclear.
What with what?
Getting a nomination through.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, no, and it frustrates me because it truly angered me to no end when they wouldn't have a hearing for what's his name? The candidate Obama wanted to replace Scalia.
Yeah. That was really bad.
Yeah, no, that was really bad, and I think that should have been deemed unconstitutional, but whatever. It's going to be harder for them to block it now, but I can see there being a big effort to...
You could try to punish or push some of the moderate Republicans to vote against it. You only need one or two to get away from it, because you have 48 Democrats, I think. Because McCain's out, so there's only 99 total votes, so you just need 50. So I think you just need two.
Yeah, I forgot.
You just need two dissenters from Republicans.
Yeah, because I want to say it's what...
Pence can't tie break on a 99 vote.
Well, yeah, because you can't have a tie.
Yeah, 50-49 will be what happens. So you need two Republicans, and I think Murkowski and Collins are two possible deserters. Someone said Corker. He's from Tennessee. He's retiring. He could end up one last FU to Trump. I know he's differed with him with some stuff before. There's that one other guy from Arizona. Not McCain, obviously, the other one.
Yeah, I was going to say McCain. I don't know who the other one is, but...
He's had a lot of issues with Trump before, too, and I could see him... I think he came out and said he's not going to fully block it, but I could see him not liking a particular candidate and saying no.
No, yeah, and I think they really need a more moderate person on there, because I think it should be as evenly balanced on the Supreme Court as possible. It shouldn't be...
Obviously, they're going to pick someone who's right-leaning, but not have some extreme textualist... interpretation.
No, yeah, they're not going to pick some Roy Moore to go on there.
I hope not.
I think that was the
Jeff Sessions.
No, what's her name? The girl who did the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Oh yeah,
Michelle Wolf. She had the joke about that, where like Democrats are still going to lose an election to like Dr. Rapist McPedophile.
Yeah, I could see it.
Ooh, a doctor.
They barely beat
Roy Moore.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God they beat him, but yeah, barely.
Yeah, I get it. It was down in the South, so he's going to lose it. I think he's up for re-election in 2020 already.
Who, Roy Moore?
No, though.
Doug Jones.
Yeah, Doug Jones. Because who
was also the fish monster from Shape of Water.
What?
No, well, not the same one, but the guy who played the monster from Shape of Water is Doug Jones.
Oh, okay. I was going to say what?
I was watching that movie around the time of that election. I kind
of
associated
fact, everybody. Not really.
That was a good movie. I liked it. I'm glad it won Best Picture.
Save it for your movie podcast, buddy.
I will. And you won't be on it because you don't watch movies.
No, I don't. I have more important things to be doing.
Hey, there's nothing. All right,
like ranting in the basement.
Yeah, well, I think we've just about milked all 5 of these conversations as much as they're worth. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's about it for today. Hopefully you guys listened to the whole thing, not counting on it. But if you did, thank you for listening.
If you did, you're our friend. Thank you.
Yes, we thank you. Thanks for coming on the show again, James. Hope to see you again.
Thanks for having me. It's my house. We're in my house right now. You don't have to thank me for being here.
Thanks for having me. How about that?
Yeah, that works good. I'm glad to have you, Ethan. I'm glad to call you a friend.
We'll see you guys in the next episode.